Good morning. My name is Paola Lauri, and today I am going to talk about cortisol, physical activity, and weight loss in a randomized clinical trial. Definition: hormones are extremely powerful molecules manufactured in the human body. They are used for communication between tissues with the ultimate goal of regulating bodily processes and behaviors. Cortisol, a hormone produced in the adrenal glands, is a glucocorticoid whose main function is to restore homeostasis as a result of the stress response. Whenever a stress response is triggered or a low blood sugar level is detected, cortisol is released from the adrenal cortex and is used to stimulate the process of gluconeogenesis in the liver.
Cortisol is a steroid, and this is what you might hear about in the news as being a stress steroid. Cortisol is increased at times of stress for your body, and by stress I mean severe illness or sickness, or some of the other types of stress that you hear about, like stressful situations at work. This is kind of one of the fight or flight hormones in the body. When there's too much cortisol, an excess amount of cortisol for too long can cause major changes in your body's metabolism. It can cause diabetes, it can cause obesity. There are several different things that it causes. When there's too much cortisol, we have to look for causes of why there's too much cortisol. One reason is for a tumor in your adrenal glands that we would then remove surgically. Another reason is that you have too much of a hormone from your brain telling your adrenal glands to be overactive. That one is not as easily treated with surgery, though.
Applications in nutrition. There are many determinants of body weight, including exercise, dieting, and behavioral modifications. Also genetic, hormonal, and metabolic factors heavily influence in this condition. Studying these components may make us understand that there are other factors to consider. In this case, the overabundance or lack of cortisol, a stress-related hormone, may be a key player in the ability of an individual to reduce and maintain body weight.
A new warning today about yet another potential health problem that could result from too much stress in your life. Health anchor Liz Bonas joins us now with the newest details in our Living Longer report. Liz.
Hey Paula, good afternoon once again. There are some things in life that are major stressors and very tough to avoid. If you've recently experienced some of the top stressors in life, which often include work stress, financial strain, health concerns, moving, marriage troubles, you could be at risk for gaining weight, and not just because these drive you to eat more. Now, Cleveland Clinic researchers have just released a new report about all this. They had psychologists review details of a new study which shows long-term stress can actually lead to increased weight. It appears that the hormone cortisol can boost body weight, and it's higher in those who have higher weights. Now, to find this out, researchers in the study compared the stress levels and the body weights of more than 2,500 men and women. They actually used hair analysis to measure cortisol, or the main stress hormone, and they did this for about 2 months. Cortisol is a hormone that is secreted by the adrenal glands. It tends to ramp up during stressful times. It's usually a helpful hormone to give you an extra boost for coping, but long term it appears to influence everything from our ability to sleep, our energy levels, our desires to exercise or not, our desires to eat more. And what they did is they found that if you measure the weight, you actually extract the body fat, those with higher weights have more of it. Now what we don't know is which really comes first. Because you start gaining weight, does the body produce more and it's a cycle?
Yeah, okay.
Or do you start producing it when you get stressed out and it leads to more weight?
All I know is that's just so unfortunate. You're already stressed, you're having a bad time, and then the side effect isn't the one you want.
And I've had people say, I know I'm not eating more.
Right.
And I do wonder, I think we are delicate beings. God made us that way, and everything in life is a balance. And when something's out of balance, everything else is too.
I know sleep affects weight.
Yeah. And that's why they say you can't change the stress, but you can try to get a little more rest, try to get some yoga, try to call your good friends. I have you.
Yeah.
She's cheap therapy. We joke about that all the time.
We do, but you bring food in too.
I know.
Right.
You know, you need to balance it both. All right. Have a great
Pros and cons. Physical activity promotes many favorable effects on the human body, such as weight control, reduced risk of certain major chronic diseases, a strengthening of tissues, and improvement in mental health and energy. Cortisol allows to activate a mechanism which ensures a steady supply of glucose to the body, and also plays a role in immune function. In cons, we have that abnormal cortisol production has been related with obesity and impaired carbohydrate metabolism. And also, an overproduction of cortisol can produce upper body obesity, severe fatigue, and muscle weakness, high blood pressure, backache, elevated blood sugar, and blood stretch marks on the skin.
Your cortisol is another destructive hormone, just as destructive as insulin when it's present in excess. But insulin is an essential hormone. If you don't have enough, you'll starve, right? That's why type 1 diabetics, they take insulin injections because they need the injection of insulin to take the sugar from the bloodstream and put it in their cells. If they don't do that, they're going to starve. So you need some, you just don't want to have too much. And cortisol is the same thing. This is the hormone that your body releases when you're under chronic stress. Now, stress of any kind. It could be something that you're thinking, something that you're seeing, something you're hearing, something, whether it's real or imagined, your body does not know the difference. It responds the same way every single time. Cortisol levels rise. Cortisol is a stimulating hormone. It also taps into your muscle fibers to give you energy to get away from the stress. So that's why chronic stress is so destructive for your body composition, because it's eating up your muscle fiber. So the problem is that everything we do, think, say, or feel can stress you. So it's not just to go, okay, I'm going to eat. It's like you have to think about doing many different things in your day to manage your cortisol levels. And exercise is something that many people don't think about with respect to cortisol. And yet this study here, the University of North Carolina, it showed that strenuous, fatiguing exercise had higher cortisol and lower thyroid hormones. Remember at the beginning I told you that I exercised for an hour and a half a day and I got worse, I gained more weight and got more lethargic and confused. And well, that's exactly what was happening with me. I was over-exercising, creating so much stress. It was dropping my thyroid hormone and raising my cortisol, which is absolutely not what you want to have happen in the gym. It puts you into a state where you're going to burn less fat and want to eat more muffins and pastries.
Issue applied in Ecuador. There aren't studies of this topic in Ecuador, but it's important to mention this. On average, in Ecuador, 6 out of 10 adults suffer from overweight or obesity. Knowing this, it is important to find the causes of the disease, economic, social, genetic, hormonal, to give people the right treatment.
Obesity is a condition that is associated with having an excess of body fat. Obesity is classified as having a body mass index of 30 or greater. 3 decades ago, the obesity rate for adults was 15%. Today, the rate has more than doubled to 35%. At the same time, calories consumed by adults have gone from 1,996 to 2,234 a day. Obesity-related conditions include heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, and certain types of cancer. These are some of the leading causes of preventable death. The estimated annual healthcare costs of obesity-related illness are $190.2 billion, or nearly 21% of annual medical spending in the United States. Obesity-related job absenteeism costs $4.3 billion annually, and obese people spend 42% more on healthcare costs than healthy weight people. African Americans have the highest age-adjusted rates of obesity at 47.8%, followed by Hispanics at 42.5%, Caucasians with 32.6%, and Asians at 10.8%. There's no significant relationship between obesity and education among men. Among women, however, there is a trend. Those with college degrees are less likely to be obese compared with less educated women. Higher income women are less likely to be obese than low income women. The United States is the 8th fattest country in the world, with 31.8% of the population being overweight. The top 3 fattest countries are Egypt with 33.6%, Saudi Arabia with 35.2%, and Kuwait with 42.8%. The fattest states in the United States are Delaware with 34.3% of its population being obese, West Virginia with 34.4%, and Mississippi with 35.4%. While obesity is a major health and economic issue, recent studies have shown that childhood obesity among 2 to 5-year-olds has gone down from 14% in 2004 to 8.4% in 2012. Thanks for watching.
In conclusion, it is important to do more research about the relationship between cortisol and body weight, because given the complex of the endocrine system, we need more studies to understand the controversial function of this hormone. On the other hand, it is important to remember and promote the realization of physical activity because it has positive effects at mental and physical level, improving the quality of life.
Exercise is interesting in terms of the effects on the brain because it works in about 4 or 5 different ways. One of the most obvious ways is blood flow. And so if you get your heart working, your brain's filled with oxygen-rich blood and nutrients. So that's the main way that we thought it helps. The other way that's sort of interesting is it's been thought that exercise produces new neurons. And so exercise induces the production of growth factors, what's called BDNF. And it actually stimulates the production of new brain cells. Now, when I was in school 20 years ago, we were told you can't get any new brain cells. So when you're born, that's your lot. You're not going to make any more. But more recently, we found that exercise is a really good way of stimulating brain cell production. And some of these are functional. And so just this notion that something that you can do can generate new brain cells is a really great thing to think about. So we were wondering why exercise helps the brain. And one theory is it just reduces stress. So maybe it's not that your blood is coming to the brain, maybe you're less stressed, and then, and that was something that imaging allowed us to test. And so we scanned a whole lot of people with high cortisol levels. So if you're stressed, if you're angry about something, or even if you're stuck in traffic, your cortisol levels can be very high. One of the things we found is that the people with high cortisol levels lost brain tissue faster. Well, that's a serious problem. So as soon as you know that's true, you can look at ways of reducing your cortisol. And so that's a very easy thing to do. I mean, we can get less stressed by exercising, walking, taking breaks. And so imaging established a physical connection between something in your blood, like the cortisol, that's a sign of stress, and actual physical changes in the brain. That's very useful to know. Take care of your brain, and there's a lot of ways we know that you can take care of your brain. You can eat a good diet, you can exercise, you can reduce stress, you can make sure you're well educated. And these things just build up a sort of mental bank account for the future. And so even though it seems like work is hard, I mean, you're building a store of brain connections that you'll need for the rest of your life. So these are practical messages that we've learned from imaging a lot of people.
Thank you for your attention.